she always in the news, but it's not for anything serious, or at least serious legislative wise.
Yeah, I never hear about any bills that she introduces or attaches her name to that like actually could do some good for the American people. Like, can you even think of like a central cause? Because I feel like if you are um in the House of Representatives, you know, if you're in Congress, if I were in Congress, what I would do is pick like a signature issue, something that was really important to me, and I would put my all into that. That doesn't mean that you don't vote on other bills, but like what I want my name associated with would be one particular cause, because you can't get everything done all at once, right? That would be the way that I would go about it, and then that would be the measure of whether or not you are successful. Like, but I digress.
So today we're going to talk about why this woman has no business in Congress, and why the New York Post and the Atlantic, they have pretty much uncovered what the rest of us already knew. We already knew that Jasmine was not a serious legislator. She's a social media star, but her sparkle is about to fizz out. So let's get into this.
Yeah, I forgot you told me about her, Jamal. I actually like her a lot. I haven't heard her say anything that I disagree with yet. I mean, I would still like her even if we disagreed on certain issues. But yeah, she's awesome.
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I am your host, April Chapman, and today, y'all, we're going to be putting a spotlight on Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, aka the diva from Dallas, who, according to this scathing report from the New York Post, is less of a lawmaker and more of a TikTok tyrant with a congressional paycheck. Now, the Post is describing her as all diva and no wow. And I said, wow, that's a pretty funny headline. But Jasmine Crockett has a whole lot of style and flair, right? Very demonstrative. And I get it. I'm the same way. But there's absolutely no substance behind.
April, girl, I don't even see how you could compare yourself to Jasmine Crockett. You don't look like you took two pairs of $3.99 eyelashes from the beauty supply store and glued them on top of each other with the black hair bonding glue and carelessly stuck them to your eyelids. Okay, let's continue.
Behind her to back it up. Like she got the loud mouth, the drama, all of the social media flair. But when it comes to being a real legislator, sis is a no-show. I'm just saying. So instead of her doing her job, I don't know, representing the people and working toward real legislative change, what people actually elected her to do, she's very busy building a brand. And hear me clearly, I get that because personal brand imagery and personal brand building is very important. You always need to be thinking ahead. Congress, at least they should have term limits. It's not guaranteed. You might get primaried, you might lose your seat, and you always need to figure out, what is my pivot? What am I going to do next after this? However, in Jasmine's world, Congress is a set, and her staff, they're just there to keep the show going no matter the cost. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that, because speaking of her staff, let me tell you, y'all, they're not just working under her. These folks are out here fighting for their life, trying to survive, figuratively. I mean, they're like just surviving under her. It's a very heavy-handed, overlording situation, because reportedly, this woman runs her office like a personal dictatorship. I mean, throwing tantrums, refusing to communicate like a ratchet.
I can see that with all of that yelling that she does in public. I honestly feel like, okay, I'm not trying to be funny, and I'm not saying that Jasmine Crockett is like unattractive. I think her attitude turns people off more than anything. But I can tell that Jasmine Crockett didn't get a lot of attention. It was never giving that she was the popular girl or one of the most beautiful girls. So she was probably one of those people who studied really hard and kept her head in the books. And again, she came from an upper middle class background. She went to a very expensive private school, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? But it feels like now that she's finally got the spotlight on her, she gets to cosplay as this ghetto queen, and people are like eating it up, and it's getting to her head because this is the most anybody has ever paid attention to her in her entire life.
Tanks do, treating her staff like pawns in this political game where the only thing that matters is her ego. And so we're talking about her yelling at staff, being totally unresponsive when they need her, and then showing zero regard for anyone's mental health or well-being. So what I wanted to do, I just wanted to read a few excerpts from this article that this is not good. This is not good at all. And unfortunately, I mean, everybody can't be lying. Like if
I used to work for a woman who was a narcissist like this. As a matter of fact, I see quite a few parallels between her and Jasmine Crockett. Again, she was fat most of her life. She was always, she was not always the first in terms of looks, the first woman to be picked. So she worked really hard in college. She had the gift of gab. She knew how to talk to people. Far more skillful at manipulation than Jasmine Crockett, but she was a raging narcissist. And she used to love to take credit for the hard work of others. So she wouldn't show up to work either. She wouldn't respond to staff. She had her own business, but it was just kind of like, I don't know. She just did not give a damn. And I don't think she was always like that, but eventually she let it all kind of get to her head and she ended up losing that business. But yeah, like I've worked for somebody exactly like this.
everybody keeps saying the same thing about you, at some point you got to be like, okay, it's not you, it's me, right? So according to this article, it says here that Crockett is, let me go back. It says 3 sources who have worked with or for Crockett says she's rarely present when TV cameras aren't rolling, and she terrorizes staff when she does appear. Crockett is not often found at her government provided suite in the Longworth House office building, with one insider saying,
I wonder, for all the talking that she does, I would like to know the demographics of her staff for her to feel like she can just come in there and talk to them however she wants to talk about them. I have like a funny image in my head. I'm not going to say it, but I
she
wonder.
prefers to work from her nearby luxury apartment building, sometimes for weeks on end. Quote, she is laying
Didn't Trump tell y'all to get back in the office? Okay.
around her apartment, won't come into the office, and is really just indifferent to staff and will scream at them, the former aide said. Quote, she is never in the office and is very disengaged. She does her bulls that goes viral and then freaks out over the most random things. Y'all, let me be clear. This is not random. Now, granted, a lot of this has to do probably with Jasmine's personality, but if the age that is being reported about Jasmine Crockett being 44, she is absolutely perimenopausal. That woman crazy.
I will say this. For somebody who is 44, she looks a lot younger. So I give credit where credit is due. She not cracking. 44 is not old, but she doesn't look 44. I would even say that Jasmine Crockett looks like maybe she could be like 29, 30, 31, 32, nothing above 35, in my opinion. And if she were to take those ridiculous lashes and get some new wigs, she would probably look even younger.
losing her ever-loving mind. There are hormonal things going on with Jasmine that is, she don't know what to do. She don't know where she's coming or going. On top of the fact that she's a liberal and she's in a ratchet tang. And then you blend that with perimenopausal hormone imbalances, and it's a recipe.
I've said this before. I'll say this again. Liberalism attracts people with mental illnesses. Not only does it attract people with mental illnesses, it exacerbates the mental illness. It's the equivalent of letting the patients run the asylum.
For disaster. I'm telling you, I ain't telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. I am living through perimenopause, and had it not been for the Holy Spirit to restrain the foolishness that wells up in my heart. Listen, I'm just letting you know, every day I have to die to my flesh and crucify my flesh and remind my husband that we gonna get through this one way or the other, and tell my kids, I love you. I don't know who that woman was 5 minutes ago, but I love you. Your mama loves you. Okay? But
if that's what that is, I can have some compassion, because like I haven't hit that yet, but all of us women are going to have to go through that. But like at the same time, I think there are certain things that, for example, if I was going through perimenopause, and I know this is going to last for years and years and years, I think there are certain positions, like positions of being like a public servant in Congress. That's a really important position, because you literally have people's lives in your hands. I personally would say, I'm going to give this up for now, and I'm going to endorse somebody else, and I'm going to go take care of myself, because, you know, the constituents in my state should not have to deal with me going through this roller coaster. Like, I can't show up the way that I need to show up for you all. So it's like, I have empathy, but at the same time, if this is the case, then I don't think that she should hold that position. And not because she's perimenopausal, but because if you cannot emotionally regulate in a way to where you can effectively do your job while you're perimenopausal, and again, I don't know, this is all speculation, then you should not hold that position.
It says, a second source close to Crockett's team added, it is widely known that she's not nice to staff, and it's just not a really dedicated member focused on constituents. I told y'all, are y'all shocked? This is how the Iron Triangle functions. But the fact that she has several staff, former staffers, and aides, and our sources that are close to Crockett's team, everybody is saying the same thing.
People said the same thing about Kamala Harris. Again, she gave narcissistic vibes too. People said the exact same things about Kamala. And we know she wasn't really showing up like that, because we barely saw sis. Y'all see, we see JD Vance everywhere.
She says she is focused almost exclusively on being an influencer, not a member of Congress, said a third source who has worked with Crockett, describing her as all diva.
¿Regresar a clases significa volver a las preguntas interminables? Asegúrate de estar siempre preparado con ChatPDF. Deja de...
No, wow. And then someone says, let me just give you this quote. So, this part is crazy. It says, when Crockett does show up for work on Capitol Hill, often to attend a committee hearing where she deploys a made for social media attack on Trump, she prefers to have a staff member drive her the short distance to her office in a rented car rather than the staffer's own, a cheaper option commonly used by lawmakers. The staffer is expected, here's the rules, y'all, because you know, it always comes with a set of rules. The staffer is expected to stand outside the vehicle, which has to be an Escalade or similar upscale model, and open the door for her.
Who the hell she thinks she is?
You're technically allowed to do this, but it's wildly inefficient. Instead of using the scheduler's card.
These are the same people that continue to try to keep you in the struggle Olympics. Like, ma'am, not only are you in Congress, but you ordering around drivers in an Escalade, having people open your door for you. But yet I'm supposed to be sitting up here talking about how white people are holding me down and oppressing me. I'm supposed to be mean, ugly, and bitter because white people are somehow oppressing me in 2025. Meanwhile, you are behaving like a literal slave driver, the way you treat your staff and the way that you order people around. It's so crazy, y'all. I had a friend here in Colombia. She was a black woman. And I believe I told this story before, but I stopped being friends with her and I ultimately told her it's because you are a raging racist and I did not come here for that, right? So she's a black woman. Immediately the first time I meet her, she says, "I didn't come to Colombia to be around white people." Ma'am, nobody asked you that. Like, what? You don't know me. And then even when she learned that I was biracial, you continue to always be like always make comments about white people who are like don't even care about you, make your slick comments about biracial people. Anyway, she would go out of her way to bring up black oppression and race every time we were with white people. You know, she just could not let them forget that she was oppressed. She wanted to remind them every time that they were her oppressors, you know? And finally, it was like I just could not handle it. And what was so crazy about the situation is that her mom was like an Italian chef. She came from money. She had traveled all of her life. She had traveled to more countries than the average white person in America has. After she graduated college, she went and lived in Peru. Like she had a very cultured life. And like you are more angry and bitter towards white people than somebody like myself who literally grew up in poverty around roaches, who went days and even weeks at times without electricity in the house, who lived in homeless shelters, who was in foster care. Like, you want to talk to somebody like me about oppression, and I'm not half as bitter and angry as you are, and you want to try to convince me that your life is hard. It's always these middle class Black people who had all the advantages in life that are always bitter because of the simple fact that they are upset that they feel a way about their skin color. It is what it is. They care about their skin color more than anybody else. It's all self-inflicted hatred.
She rents a car every week in DC. One source said, quote, she expects her staff to drive her around while she's in the back seat. They added, calling it a power play akin to treating a staffer like an Uber driver. Y'all, listen. I'm going to tell you how a little bit of notoriety and fame and influence can go to your head if you don't have the restraint of the Holy Spirit. Y'all want to hear this funny story? So,
wait. I forgot to tell y'all. I was going somewhere with the story about the friend. It's going to make sense. Just bear with me here. So anyway, she got upset one day because she was saying that a Colombian person said that they don't like Americans. So she got upset and she told that Colombian person, "You mean you don't like white people?" To which I responded to her, "No, she said what she meant. She doesn't like Americans, you included. Like, we share a lot in common culture. When you leave the United States," y'all, my internet looks like it's about to trip. Give me a second. Okay, when you leave the United States, you realize that culturally, Black people and white people have way more in common with each other than the people that are outside of that country. Even if they are closer to your skin tone, culturally, we share a lot of similarities with white people. So she immediately gets upset. I have nothing in common with white people. Yes, you do, which is why that woman told you to your face she doesn't like Americans, because she sees the commonalities. She knows that there's a difference between a Colombian person and all the people that come from the United States. She sees it and she doesn't like it. So yes, she was talking about you too. Well, this friend who again is always bashing white people, talking about oppression, she, I guess her Colombian nanny, who was Afro-Colombian, was not fulfilling some of her duties. Like she was leaving early, coming in late, not communicating about when she needed to call in. She should absolutely have been fired. But then the way that she proceeded to talk about this Black Colombian nanny, I have never heard white people talk about their help like this. Y'all, she was like, she ought to be grateful. I'm the reason she has a passport and I changed her life and I did this and this is that. And I'm like, ma'am. And she was just going in. And I'm like, you talk so much trash about white people, but do you hear how you sound when you are talking about a Black person who comes from a country where she is economically disadvantaged and compared to you? How quickly you take on that same language that you accuse, that same language and utter disgust and disdain that you choose to associate with white people, you actually become that thing that you claim that you hate when you perceive yourself to be of higher value than another Black person who is poorer than you and comes from a different culture than you. I just hope you see that.
So the past 12 months have been a whirlwind of a ride for me. You guys, you know, I started YouTube 3 years ago with this channel, and then the Lord has just been gracious and caused me to grow faster than I thought I would actually grow.
Amen,
well,
sis.
Along with the YouTube growth, I get invited to a lot of events, and a lot of these events, expenses are covered. You do get a driver. They'll come pick you up from the airport. You're staying in very nice hotels. These are not things that I could ever afford to do on my own. However, you do, even if it's just a weekend of this, where someone's inviting you to speak, or you show up and all of your expenses are covered and someone's picking you up from the airport and you're staying at a nice hotel, even if you just do that for one weekend or two.
Have you ever heard content creators say,
Oh my
comment the word
gosh.
burgers below and I'll send you over something for free? And then when you comment,
you start to get used to that. And this is how it is important to have people around you who love you enough to tell you the truth and to just humble you and to bring you down to your lowly estate. Well, I'll never forget, and there's one particular
the problem is when you are genuinely a raging narcissist like Jasmine Crockett is, you fire people that humble you. Or you try to sabotage the people that humble you. So people like that keep yes men and yes men only around them. I'm pretty sure the people who are going to check Jasmine Crockett and tell her about her behavior are no longer around. That only works on people who just like at their core, genuinely at their core, they're humble.
Trip. I was on business and my husband chose to pick me up from the airport. Now, me and my husband have this very congenial, cordial, like, you know, like that's my dude. You know what I'm saying? That's my dude. And it's not really a relationship where we've been together for so long. Like, I know he ain't going nowhere. He know I'm not going nowhere. So when he picked me up from the airport, we get into the parking garage and he gets my bag, puts my bag in the car, and then he gets in the car. I'm standing outside of the car because I had just been gone for maybe a week and I am used to the driver opening up my car door. It's car service. I'm used to.
I know he was like, girl, if you don't get your MFN behind in this car and quit playing with me.
Car service. Well, I forgot that I was home. And so Robert gets in the car. The kids get in the car. I'm standing out the car on my phone. And I'm just standing there and I'm just like, I didn't even realize, y'all, that I was standing outside the car by myself. And so Robert is looking at me like, are you going with us? Or
right,
you gonna stay out there? And I'm just like, oh, so y'all not gonna open the door for me? And these kids and my husband are looking at me like,
no, ma'am. Absolutely not.
Who is this Harpo? Who is this woman? And so we all laughed about it. And when I got in the car, he was like, listen, I don't know what you've been doing or what you heard, but you home now. Like, it was just a very quick, friendly reminder to remind me that, ma'am, this is not how we do. You know how we do, and this is not it.
But here's the thing. As bad as we talk about like Nancy Pelosi and as much money as she have, I'm pretty sure there are people with there's people in Congress with far more wealth than she has that don't behave that way. This is what you get when you get somebody who ain't used to nothing in that kind of position, right? I know they be looking at her like, this fool right here.
The energy, you need to keep that right out there. You are April, you are wife, you are mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just had to bring it down to humble me to help me understand. And so when I read this about Jasmine Crockett, it just tells me she's just a little drunk with power, and the people in her life don't love her enough to be like, I don't. This is unapproached. This is
no, April. Okay, again, you're speaking this from a perspective of somebody who is genuinely humble. I'm sure that Jasmine Crockett really doesn't have anybody around her to tell her you're doing too much. She's probably not friends with those kind of people anymore because she enjoys the power. She enjoys the attention. So much so that those friends would have to exit stage left. So again, when you're dealing with true raging narcissists, the reason why they don't stop their behavior, and y'all be like, well, we're their family and friends to tell them, no, they've had people tell them they're no longer friends with them or their family they don't speak to anymore.
Inappropriate behavior. Like, the people in her life should love her enough to tell her.
And not just that, there have been videos of several people, including Black people, who have gotten on the internet and said that the way that she behaves is inappropriate and they don't want to be represented in that way. And she does not care. The more attention she gets, the more vulgar she becomes. And I said this before. She feels like if she is as scandalous in her approach to politics as Donald Trump is, that she is going to get the same results. But what she doesn't understand is that the reason why Donald Trump has the base that he has is because not only is he quick-witted, not only does he say what he wants to say, and yeah, he'll throw out some cuss words here and there, but he actually has substance, right? He actually has substance, and he actually comes with plans, and he's actually speaking to the concerns of the people. He was actually saying, before it became popular, saying a lot of the things that the average working class American that was living in coal country wanted to say but could not say. He wasn't just getting up there ranting and raging for attention with no substance. And that is the difference here. And that is why it's not working for her in the exact same way. And this is exactly why she's about to lose her seat.
you can't treat people like this. If you want to be taken serious as a serious legislator, then first, how you treat people matters. Okay, you can't be hollering at your staff and then you spending all of this extra money to rent a high-end luxury car so that you can look the part. Like, all of this right now is giving me Tiffany Henyard energy. Tiffany Henyard is the disgraced mayor from Dothan, Illinois, who just, you couldn't tell her she wasn't the bee's knees. Same energy, different orangutan. That is what this is. Let me just read one more thing.
Well, here's the thing. It's some people that are never supposed to get any power.
It says some former
Jasmine Crockett is one of them.
aides cited fear of retribution when declining to participate in this story. She thinks, quote, she thinks she's her own best advisor. She knows best and has this toxic staff environment, a source said. She gets rid of press people because she's like, I do all the press stuff. On one occasion described to the Post, Crockett reduced a legislative aide to tears, bellowing, do you really want to be here? And if not, you can leave. Like, who's she?
Baby, Jasmine Crockett I can't work for people like this. I can't work for people like that. Absolutely not. I would have already slapped her. Like, for real, I'm not even playing. My narcissistic boss, you know what? I'm not even going to tell that story. I'm not even going to tell that story. Thank the Lord I'm free. Okay. But I can't deal with people like that. You know, life will humble you real quick dealing with me, because ain't no way. Ain't no way. Sometimes you got to put a puss ass bitch in her place and let her know you are not